God fucking damn it, finally! How's it going, lads and lasses? This has been a very long time coming. Mezco's Ghost Rider figure is finally here. It's finally starting to ship out to people. It has been 5 years since it was announced back in 2018. I think it was San Diego Comic-Con that year it got announced. And it's finally here. The pre-orders went up in 2020, so it's been 3 years since then. Feels like the end of an era. Let's get into it. So per Mezco's quality standards, we've got some really nice detail here. Just look at how that skull's painted and sculpted. The flame effects are really well shaped. That's one issue that I'll often have with Ghost Rider figures is it's not necessarily the skull that looks bad, but sometimes the flames just don't look right. But I think Mezco got a good shape with them here. The leather jacket looks really nice. This material that they used really captures the look of leather. And it's just, it fits the figure really well. It doesn't look too bulky. That's an issue that I come across with a lot of soft goods figures, is sometimes the clothes just look way too bulky, but this one looks really well proportioned. The pants also look really nice. You'll get a little bit of bunching around the joints here, but I believe that's by design. It gives it a little bit more room when you're doing posing. So I'm fine with that because that means the leather material's less likely to rip. And the boots, the motorcycle boots, look really cool, as do the gloves there. So before I get into articulation, I wanted to talk a little bit about how the neck works, because this is going to be a little bit unique, and it actually frustrated me quite a bit at first. So, of course, the head pops off, and you'll see it's kind of got this little slant there. You have the inner neck here, and that has like this sort of socket you see, so you push it down, and then you rotate it, and that kind of locks it in. It doesn't do that great of a job, though. So on the bottom of this, of course, is where the LED is. You press that switch, it does that. I'll just go ahead and show you that LED while we're at it. Pop the head on, and then it kind of has a flickering effect, which is really cool. But for a little bit there, I was actually a little mad at Mezco for incorporating this feature how they did before I kind of fixed it. You'll see, of course, I have all this crazy tape wrapped around it. And that's because it is designed to fit on this tab there. You can see there is a little socket actually on the neck. Because of the tape, it won't fit flush anymore. But the reason why I have that tape is because when it sits like that, you can't really rotate the head. At least not without pulling out the whole neck. And then it just comes off. It's not a press fit at all. The only thing that locks it in there is this little cubby, you know, and there's one on each side. So once that twists, it's just going to fall out. It's really loose. And I was thinking of doing some serious permanent modifications to the point where I wouldn't be able to use the LED feature, just because I don't like that. I don't like not being able to turn the head without it falling off, basically. But my solution was to just sort of wrap some tape around, and then if you do like about 2 layers of just, you know, standard tape, that gives it enough of a tight fit to where it won't fall off. So you don't need to lock it with that little tab there. So if you're like me and you want the head to be able to rotate around, because I can live without having like an up and down bobbing motion, but I couldn't live without being able to actually rotate the neck. So that's a good solution. You want to go about at least 2 layers with this tape. So 2 full layers wrapped around. You might be able to get away with one more layer. You don't want to do too little because then it's like you don't have any tape there at all. You don't want to do too much either because then the fit is so tight that either the tape will peel off and bunch up when you push the head on it, or when the head gets on there, it will just latch on because the fit's so tight there's hardly any room between the tape, and it will rotate that neck out anyways. So, it's a little bit of trial and error. I'm sure that due to tolerances, each figure is going to require different levels of tape. For me, it was 2. I can't imagine that there's going to be one that requires less than that, but I could see there being one that needs more. So, back to articulation. We have some jaw movement there. And then, like I said, I was able to fix the neck rotation, but of course, because of how this is incorporated, you're not going to get any up and down bobbing. You're going to have to do that, with the torso itself. And your articulation is going to be a little bit limited with the clothing, but with that considered, it's actually pretty decent. So it'll go up about that far. It kicks out really far there. And then the elbows and knees are really, really good considering the clothes. And like I said, I think that's because they added a little bit more material around those joints just to give it a bit more freedom. They'll actually rotate here at the end of the glove, but I just like to leave it like that so it stays lined up like that. And then of course, handle swivel back and forth like that. It'll rotate there, and then you can rotate that joint so you can swivel back and forth like that. Now, the ab crunch is probably what suffers the most here with the jacket. That's about what you're going to get forward, and you don't get a lot backward. And then you get a little bit of twist there, not too much. I wouldn't recommend doing the splits too often with this figure because you might split the seam there. But it'll kick out pretty far. That's about as far as you'd want it to kick out anyways. And then knee goes to that point. The boots will rotate there. But I wouldn't do that too often because of the material being bunched up inside there. And then I believe the feet are on a ball joint. So you get a pretty decent range out of that. Alright, let's talk about accessories. So, what would a Ghost Rider figure be without the chain whip? You have 2 versions. You have this standard one. This one's actually technically the better one because it's actually made out of real chain links. And there's a bendy wire that goes through all of them. So that allows you to, really flex this. And then you have the flaming one, which does not have real chain links or a bendy wire going through it. And you kind of have to bend it and shape it and warp it yourself in whatever way you can. Heat helps, if you hit it with, say, a hair dryer and then run it under cold water once you've got it in a pose you like, it'll be more likely to keep its shape. That's not 100% guarantee, but that'll help. And then just, setting it under something like a book, if you were to set like a book on top of it and had it like that, that would help straighten out the chain there. Also, just the way you kind of wrap it around him while you're using it in the poses. You can kind of finagle it in whatever position you need it to be in. So we've got quite a few hands here. These are the gripping hands. It's not really a tight grip, so I'll kind of show that right now. It actually grabs these pretty loosely. As you can see, it just kind of fell off from shaking. So take note of that. That can also be fixed by shooting it with a hair dryer and then kind of just clenching it as tight as you can, and then running it under cold water. That can help. You have, of course, the open hands that I'm using on him right now. You've got closed fists, one for each hand. And then there is a unique hand for each side. I'll go into this one first. So this one actually technically has an accessory specifically for it. There's this little flame blast here, and it'll actually attach to this hand. So it's like you throw a little hellfire blast, which is pretty cool. And then there's just kind of the balled up version there. For this hand, it's just another gripping hand for the chain. This one can actually hold it a little bit better. But one cool thing about this is it can also double as a trigger finger. So let's say you want to give him a Hellfire shotgun. Let's say you're like me and you bought like 1,000,000 Terminator figures from NECA and you have a bunch of 1887 shotguns lying around. That's what I did here. I customized this one with some flame effects and a little bit of painting just to kind of, I based it loosely off of the one from the movie. I didn't do really any modifications to the shotgun itself other than the paint. I just glued the fire effects to it. So if you were wondering if those Terminator shotguns work with this, they work pretty good. It's about the right scale. Fits this hand really well. It's a little tight, which I'd rather it be a little tight than be loose. So it takes a little bit of finesse to get it in there, to get it through the lever there. But once it's in, it's not falling off, so that's good. So you've got a standard Mezco style stand here. This one's got Ghost Rider's kind of flaming skull icon here. Variations of this have been used in various Marvel properties, from video games to some comics. And then that, of course, comes with a claw for jumping poses or any other unique poses that you can come up with. I think this can even do some stuff with the motorcycle, which I'll get into now. The motorcycle. This is a pretty big part of the reason why Ghost Rider took so long to get to us. At least I believe so. And if you like this motorcycle, everything I'm about to say is nothing against you. You are more than welcome to like the motorcycle, but I'm going to express my opinion on it, which is I hate this thing. This does not look like a Ghost Rider motorcycle, at least any of the iconic ones. Johnny Blaze's is usually just a standard Harley Davidson style, typically like a stunt bike. There's also variations that have the skull up front, but that's usually more of a Danny Ketch thing, which I guess you could say it could be loosely based off of the Danny Ketch motorcycle, but not really. Danny Ketch's looks so much better, especially because it has that skull plate on the front. Hell, the Hasbro one that they did, a few years back looks better than this. This is like some kind of sci-fi Cyberpunk 2077 looking kind of thing. So it has LED and sound capabilities. You would unscrew this panel down here, then you flip this switch, and it has two buttons. There's one here, and that's the revving sound. It's really not that loud. There's Hasbro toys that are louder than that. And then there's actually two different sound chips there. This one it plays motorcycle sounds and what sounds like sort of the generic free use monster sounds that they used in the Ghost Rider video game. So I guess that's kind of a cool homage to that, but it doesn't make me like the motorcycle. I almost didn't buy the figure because of that. I'll get into that part later. But the motorcycle has two accessories, and these just sit on the wheels. So it would be something like that. And then you would have the back end like this. And that helps it stay in place too. But I'm not going to be using this motorcycle for anything, so. So after the long 5-year wait, what do I think of this figure? To sum it up, I'm happy that I have it. I'm glad that the wait's finally over. It's a good Ghost Rider figure, probably one of the best, and I would recommend picking it up if you can manage to get your hands on one. With that being said, let's talk about what I like about it and what I don't like about it. I love the detail. That skull looks so cool. Like I said, the flame effects are sculpted really nice. It doesn't look wonky like a lot of other Ghost Rider figures will look. I like that the non-flame chain whip has bendable capabilities. It makes it so much easier to kind of wrap it around him like that. I like how the soft goods fit on the figure. They're not too bulky. They look just right. I think Mezco's really gotten that down. Because you'll look at some of the earlier 112 Collective figures, and they're a little bulky. Especially what comes to mind is the Spider-Man Homecoming figure. That suit was just so bulky. You know, Tom Holland's Spider-Man was really thin, so it just didn't work out. But they're really hitting their stride now, or at least they have been for a while. And it's really showing with this figure. The clothes just fit perfectly. He comes with the perfect amount of accessories. I couldn't really ask for anything more accessory-wise except maybe a Hellfire shotgun, but that's a bonus. That's not something that I necessarily expect from a Ghost Rider figure. It's just something that I think would be cool. What I don't like, the main thing is, and I already touched on it, the motorcycle. It does not feel like a Ghost Rider motorcycle. It's some weird sci-fi thing. I can't recall if either Johnny Blaze or Danny Ketch ever drove a motorcycle like that in the comics. It's definitely not based off of any of the iconic designs, though. I don't know where this design came from. I don't know what Mezco was thinking. I don't know if there was some kind of license issue. They couldn't make one that looked more like the comic book versions, and they had to just kind of come up with something on their own. It could be... I know that Harley Davidson is very finicky about licensing the likenesses of their motorcycles. That's weird to say, the likeness of a motorcycle. But I know NECA had trouble because they wanted to do something like that for their Terminator figures, and they couldn't. They were even going to try and do a look-alike, one that's off-brand, and Harley Davidson still shut them down. So maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. All I know is I don't like this motorcycle. And I mentioned that it almost caused me to just skip over this figure altogether. I've been wanting a nice Ghost Rider for a very, very long time. There are very few good Ghost Rider figures. When the movie came out, that line was cool as a kid to get all those Ghost Rider figures, but as a collector, they're so wonky. They're just oddly shaped. The only one that was really cool was the 12-inch one. If they could just scale down that mold and make a 1/12 scale figure like that, I think that would have been better, but what we got in the 6-inch scale was just not very good. And there have been other attempts since then. Recently there's been a few iterations of Ghost Rider that Hasbro's done. And by a few, I mean they've done one and just repainted it 3 times. And don't get me wrong, I do like that mold. Especially for Johnny Blaze, I felt they did pretty good with that. And the most recent one is actually my favorite of the 3 they've done, just because I like that color scheme and it actually comes with some unique accessories. But that's the jumpsuit style. We haven't gotten like a biker style one. More. We haven't gotten Danny Ketch, first of all. We got one years ago. I think that was even back when it was Toy Biz and not Hasbro that did Marvel Legends. But we haven't gotten a Danny Ketch Ghost Rider since then. So we haven't gotten a biker-style Ghost Rider since then. This is the first biker Ghost Rider figure in a very long time. At least at this scale. To consider skipping out on something that I had been wanting for years, more so than any other Marvel character, because Ghost Rider is my favorite superhero of all time. Specifically Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider. To be considering skipping out on that is a big deal. And it's all because of that damn motorcycle. I would rather he just not come with it and they sold the motorcycle separately. Even if they had to do like a crowdfunding campaign. because they couldn't justify selling a motorcycle separate. The only way they could sell it was if it was bundled with the figure, because otherwise no one would buy it. Well, no one would buy it because it's stupid. Anyways, it made the figure so expensive. What was it, like $240? I don't even think that included shipping. And like I said, it would be one thing if it made it that expensive, but oh, at least it looks badass. It's got a cool skull on the front of it. But no, it's this stupid sci-fi looking thing. I want to reiterate, if you do like the motorcycle, it's nothing against you. I'm glad that you're able to find joy in this monstrosity. I'm glad that, it appeals to you, but just, for me, it's not what I wanted. But how I justified it was, there's never going to be a good Ghost Rider figure. Hasbro's never going to do like a Danny Ketch one. So there's never going to be one of this quality at this scale. At least not for a very long time. So I figure if I don't get this, I'm going to regret not having that Ghost Rider figure. And I still stand by that. I'm still glad that I bought it, because the figure itself is definitely worth it. My only other real gripe with it is how they did the neck. I understand it was going to be complicated because of the LEDs, but making it so that he basically can't turn his head is not the way to go about it. There are so many better ways they could have done the neck. I'm not a toy engineer, so I don't know exactly the logistics of what would go into doing something like that, but this was just not the optimal way to go about it, because that is a very significant feature to remove from an action figure. Removing the ability to rotate the neck when you're already just completely eliminating the ability to bob up and down. I don't know why they thought that was a good idea. Like I said, it's a complicated mechanism to try and incorporate. I do give them a little slack there, but I wish they would have taken the time to come up with something a little better. And maybe they can in the future if they try to do a different Ghost Rider variation. We'll see about that. They're kind of shying away from licensed figures now. Despite those gripes, I love this figure. I'm happy with it. I don't care about the motorcycle. It's just going in storage, basically. So I just want the figure, and what I got with the figure is what I was hoping for. So I'm glad the wait is over. I'm glad I have it in my hand, and that about sums it up. If you want to watch places like Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth, you probably won't have much luck on Amazon, but they might get some back in stock on the Mezco store. I'll have some links in the description for you guys to just kind of watch. Anyways, that's going to do it for this video, you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a good one. I hope you're not mad that I shit on the motorcycle. Like I said, if you like it, I'm happy for you. It's cool that you're able to enjoy it. I wish I could, but it's just not anything that I wanted. I hope you have a good one, and I'll see you guys next time.